Okay. Hi, welcome to Master Sessions with Power BX. We're excited to have you all here today. Just so you know, these sessions are recorded, so no need to take any notes. We'll be sharing a transcription with links to everything discussed today after this event. My name is Talia Kemp, and I'm the Director of Client Success at Power BX, and I'm joined today by Jared Olsen, published TedX speaker and VP of People Experience at JobNimbus. We're so excited to have you share about culture of caring, a hero's journey today. So go ahead and take it away, Jared.
Oh, geez, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and thanks for everybody for jumping on as well. So I am excited to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the stuff that we're doing at JobNimbus to really help focus on the hero's journey. And so our CEO actually is a comic book author. And part of what really grabbed my attention about the company was when I had a conversation with him. He was telling me all about being at FanX and on these panels and how the hero's journey plays into everything that happens in work. And I love company culture. If you actually look at the origin of the word culture, it's Latin, and it's Latin for the word cultus. Now, when you translate cultus back into English, it translates into the word care. So when we talk about workplace culture, we're actually talking about caring about people. And I love that because we so often focus on how culture has to do with like ping pong and video games and stuff like that, instead of how we're individually connecting with everyone that's part of our team and our company. And so let me tell you about one of my favorite books, Time, Talent, and Energy. I love this book because I personally hate job descriptions and resumes, right? I can't stand them because we're so much more than what we're able to find on a piece of paper, right? And so this book is by Harvard Business Review. And basically what it says is we hire people for their talents. We interview them and we say, hey, this is the job. Tell me you can do this, this, and this. And if they can, we give them the gift of time. So 40 to 60 hours a week, and we accomplish something great together. And in the book, it talks about how you climb this mountain with time and with talent, and eventually get to the top and you achieve your results. Well, the big reveal in the book is that it's actually your energy, which lies below the surface, and it's not a mountain, but it's an iceberg, right? And I love that because so frequently we don't look at the individual energy that every single person brings to work or to a specific activity that we're doing. We're so much more complex and detailed and nuanced than we actually appear to be in certain settings. So what does that have to do, and what does culture and caring have to do with the hero's journey? Well, let's talk about the journey that every hero goes through. And so there are 3 phases to every hero's journey, and this is true across the board. So whether it's Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth Bennet goes through it, whether it's Paw Patrol, which my kids love, there's a hero's journey arc, or something like Star Wars, there's these 3 different elements. So you have this departure phase where the hero has a big problem and decides that they have to go on a journey. The initiation phase, where we spend most of our time, they learn all social strategies and do all this really cool stuff. And then they return and become a different person, resurrected as a new individual. And so I wanted to kind of just explain this through the lens of Star Wars. And so we're going to talk about the first one that was released. And I want to break down just a little bit more detail this journey. So in the departure phase, what happens is there's always an ordinary world. And when you're living in your ordinary world, you then have a call to adventure of this really exciting thing that's going to happen. You then meet a mentor, somebody that's going to guide you. You refuse the call like, oh, I can't do that. I'm just a normal person. And then you finally make the decision to cross the threshold. So the way that works in the world of Star Wars is Luke Skywalker is this ordinary kid, and he's living with his aunt and uncle, and he's in charge of like cleaning droids. Like that's what his job is. And he drinks his blue milk and it's just super, super normal. And he's just Luke, right? Ordinary Luke. Well, one day they get these new droids that come in, and R2-D2 actually displays this image of a princess. And the princess says, help me, Ben, you're my only hope. And as soon as Luke sees this, I mean, he's flabbergasted, and he's like, whoa, who's this Ben guy? Is this like old Ben that lives down the street? I probably should try to find out. And then R2-D2 disappears. And so he chases after him, and he finally meets this Ben guy, and it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? Not old Ben, Obi-Wan. And as he talks to Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan says, hey, Luke, did you know that your father was a Jedi and one of the best ever? And Luke is like learning about this whole new world, and Obi-Wan is guiding him of what is going to happen. And he says, you need to come with me and we need to go save the princess together. Well, what does Luke do? He refuses the call. He says, I can't do that. Like, I still got to get back to help take care of the droids and help my aunt and uncle. Like, I can't go on an adventure. I don't know what a light sword is or a lightsaber. Like, why would I do something like that? So he refuses the call, goes back, find out that his aunt and uncle were actually killed. And so then he makes a decision to cross a threshold. Now, this is always a tough thing to do, to cross the threshold and make the decision to go do something. And it's kind of on the nose here with Star Wars, where you see this huge threshold that they actually have to get across to get to the town. And when they get to the town, they enter into the initiation phase. So in every initiation, you meet allies, you have tests and trials, there are enemies, there's a big approach to some big ordeal. And like I said, this is where we spend most of our time. If you think about this in the lens of work, a job, your departure is like job searching, right? And interviewing, and then like you get a job offer, you cross the threshold, and then you start a new job. And your initiation is the time that you spend at work. Well, in the case of Luke, he first meets some allies. He meets this guy, Han Solo, and his buddy Chewbacca, and they're sitting there talking about how they need to get on a ship to be able to go help save the princess. They get on the Millennium Falcon, and when they do, Luke starts to do some tests, right? He puts down this blaster shield and he's got his lightsaber, and he's trying to learn what the Force is as he's being coached by his mentor, until they're actually captured by this huge ship. And who do they find on board? Darth Vader, right? The bad enemy of this whole film. And so they get to see the stormtroopers, they get to see Darth Vader, and like, okay, bad news right here. And they have all these trials that happen while they're on the ship, and they know they have to get off the Death Star, but they're like thrown into trash compactors. They see the princesses there. They have to turn off these shields. Luke sees that his mentor is actually killed in front of him, and just tons of trials are happening. Well, they finally get off of the Death Star, and they meet with the Rebel Alliance, and they have the approach. Now, this is also kind of on the nose as well in the movie, where they're like, here is a map and a diagram of what the Death Star is, and this is where you need to go, and you need to shoot straight into this really, really small place in order to blow up the entire Death Star, which is when he then enters into the return phase. So every character resurrects as a new person, where they have a reward, and then they return to their former life as a different person. Now, the way that actually happens in Star Wars is Luke's flying in this pit, right? And he's got all these other X-Wings that are by him. And as they're flying down, they're getting picked off right and left. And all of a sudden, Luke hears his mentor in his head. Obi-Wan says, use the Force. And he's like, I can't use the Force. Like, I got a system here. I'm just Luke. Like, I'm just this dude that used to fly stuff at home. Like, this is crazy. I need the guidance system. And then he hears it again, use the Force. And so Luke decides to embrace that. And when he embraces it, he actually turns off his guidance system. And then he uses the Force to feel. Now, in that moment, Luke resurrects, and he no longer is Luke from Tatooine. He is now Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight, right? The last Jedi. And it's so cool how that happens. There's also another really fascinating hero's journey that happens at the same moment, which is when Han Solo swoops in to shoot Darth Vader out of the way so Luke can take the shot. And that's the arc and the resurrection for Han, where he's not just this bad guy, but he's actually a pretty good person. So after he resurrects as a new person, there's a reward. They get this medal, and this whole ceremony is thrown for them. And then he becomes the actual Jedi Knight. So what does this have to do with like real life, and give a real world example? I love talking to people in Utah. So I live in Silicon Slopes. And so I like to do a hashtag people of Silicon Slopes, hear people's stories and share them. And what initially got me interested in this is how perfect everything appears to be online. This was a recent trip that my family took. We went to Escalante, Utah. And this is Singing Canyon, beautiful little slot canyon, is super fun. And like, look at this cute family. It's like, this is what you put on Instagram, right? Like, look at my cute family. But the reality is driving that far to Escalante with 3 little kids had its challenges, right? This is what it was mainly like. This is when my boys had to go to the bathroom and we weren't by one. And so we pulled to the side of the road and my wife jumps out and she's helping our little boy who's getting potty trained. The wind is so breezy that it blows my other son's pee onto my wife and other son, right? Like that's just how life is. And so I thought, how can we get real and authentic by talking to people and really knowing who they are? And so I had this really cool experience recently. I like to run in the mornings and I run the same route and I just kind of listen to something. I'm not really there for the visuals as much as just to get the exercise so I can live longer. But I have run past the same person every morning. And every time we wave to each other, it's a very distinguished raise. It's just like this every single time. And he's waved to me. And so I finally said, hey, I would love to get to know you. Like I've run past this guy for so stinking long. I want to know who he was and what was his name and what was his story. And so I asked him if I could meet up with him and go on his walk one of the days. And I was able to do that. And we went for 57 minutes and we did the same route. But instead of running past him and doing it in like 20, it took me an hour. And I asked about everything. Where are you from? Tell me about your kids. What'd you do for work? Tell me about your faith. Tell me about your political views. We just talked about so much. And I learned a lot about Jim. So Jim is the person that I had been running past. And now he's able to put a name with a face. And I was also able to know a lot of backstory about Jim. And this really got me thinking about work. How often do we care enough about our people to stop running past them and getting work done and going from one meeting to another, to stop down and say, hey, let's walk. Tell me your story. Who are you? And ask about difficult things. Tell me about parenting. Parenting is so like, I love being a dad, right? I want to hear about other parenting techniques and tips and what people are doing. I want to know what therapists they recommend, right? We all need a good therapist. So do you have a therapist you go to? Does your sister have one? Like, who is it? Like, that's not a typical question you hear people ask, but wow, how helpful is that for us? How are you doing helping aging parents? Like I'm struggling with that a little bit right now as I'm getting older and my parents are getting older. They're struggling with health concerns and conditions. And like, I almost lost my dad a couple of times recently to heart issues and other issues, and it weighs heavy on us as part of below the surface questions, right? You could ask other fun things like, do you think that Luke Skywalker could beat Harry Potter? Wand versus lightsaber, and current world event thoughts, like what's going on in this world? How do you think we're doing? Should we have pulled out of Afghanistan or should we not have? These are type of things that you typically don't hear discussed at work, only in our personal lives. But that's crazy to me because culture is about caring. And if culture is about caring, how do we connect with our people to care enough about them to ask these type of questions? So here's my question for all of you to consider. How would we act different if we were to focus on helping people advance on their personal hero's journey? Instead of putting a label on someone and saying they're an attendance nightmare, or they never contribute, or they're an introvert, or they're so difficult because they won't stop talking, what if we took those labels off and we looked at the hero's journey and we said, where are you at in your journey? Are you meeting the mentor and preparing to cross the threshold? Are you in a test and trial and preparing for the ordeal? Are you resurrecting as a new person and ready for your reward? And when we do that, it changes a lot mentally to us at work. We have a lot of people at our company that are ready for their next job. And instead of being like, you crazy, don't leave, we understand that they're resurrecting and ready for their reward of a new position somewhere else. So we celebrate that. We encourage them to bring us in so we can help in their individual journey. And it reframes things when you look at your relationship with your spouse or with kids or neighbors or partners or whatever it is. Where are they at in their journey? And when you focus on them, magic can result. So I'd love to open it up for any questions. Tali, if you'd like to, and here's my contact information as well, if anybody would like to connect.
I love that question, Jared. I love that like shift in perspective. That was really great. So now we're going to open up to the Q&A section. So please introduce yourselves and your companies when you ask your question. And then just start by raising your hands in the chat here. Who has a question? Hey, Bryce.
Hey. So I'm Bryce Erickson. I'm with Blue Fire Leads. We're a marketing company here in Provo, Utah. So I'm the HR director, so I help out with all HR needs. And I guess my question is, talking about this hero's journey, how do we help reward our employees as they do good work without having to tie that to money, right? So we're kind of a smaller company. Um, you know, we need to make sure that we have cash flow from one day to the next, right? So we're not some of these bigger companies where we can just dish out, all this money to, reward employees and keep them motivated and keep them going and progressing in their careers. I mean, we like to do that, but we're not like other companies. So what are other options that we could have to help employees feel that value that, hey, we value you, we care about you, we want to help you progress, but it's not necessarily, hey, we're buying you something or we're giving you like a bonus.
Yeah. A couple of thoughts that I have for you, Bryce. The first one, I would challenge you guys to really figure out the tenure of your journey. Every person has a different length of their journey. Some journeys are fast, right? Where you go through every single one of those steps and then you start it over again. Like I know a project could look that way for me, and then I'm ready for the next one. Jobs could potentially look that way. So I guess what I would challenge you to think through is to go through all of those, the whole hero's journey at your company. How long would that take per position? And you might not have a lot of positions, it sounds like, but be real. Is it a year job? Like after a year being in that role, are people like, yeah, seen it, been there, done it, nothing else I can really learn. Like I'm ready to resurrect and move on to my next thing. If that's the case, I would just say like, first embrace it, like interview people and say, hey, we are not like this crazy catalyst for your career. You're not going to come and get huge titles and get a ton of money. This is a year job. It's really good for a working student. You're going to learn these skills. And when you get to the other end, we want you to resurrect and look like this, right? And that's what we're committing to you. And when you can accept that as a company, it really changes, I think, the paradigm a little bit, because your recruiting strategy is different, your retention strategy is different, and you may not even have to worry about compensation. Like you say, hey, this is your job. Here's what we can pay you for the next year, and you'll need more after that. And like, we'll help you. We'll help you with that next jump that you're looking for. So that may not be like the most ideal thing. It's definitely not, because I'm saying like just burn and churn, but that may be the reality of kind of where you're at right now. So that's idea number one. Better idea for idea number two really starts with just what your shareholder values are. So values are super important in every hero's journey. If there's misalignment between the values of what you're trying to accomplish and what the person's looking for, then there's not alignment, right? And people will be unhappy and they will not perform super well. Now, the shareholder portion of this is critical, because you might, as a leader yourself, have your own values and people might really like working for you, but your values may not align with that of the shareholders. So whoever is, if you guys have raised a round of equity, whoever that person is, if you're bootstrapped, whoever's actually putting the money in, whoever your CEO is, their values matter most. And if they're coming and saying like, we work hard, we like to be here, not for the money, but for the challenge, and we want to, change the world, then you have to find people that are aligned with that, because when they're aligned with it, they're not concerned about the compensation. You sell it to the candidate and you keep reiterating throughout the journey of, hey, the reason we're here is to change the world through what our product offers, not through making gobs and gobs of money. And if that's rewarding to you, we want you here. And if it's not rewarding to you, then we're probably not a good fit. And I think you have to hire and fire and live by what those values are. And it all originates from what the mission that you're trying to accomplish and how you position that. At JobNimbus, we spend a lot of time selling to our candidates. And what we're selling is the reality of what we can offer. Here's what we are, here's what we're not. And if you like, we're very candid with candidates, like you're not going to double your income here. When I look at my whole career, for example, I had one job where I actually doubled my income. Now I kind of hated the job, but I was super grateful for that. The time that I was there where I got a lot more income and better title. but that's one job out of the many, many jobs that I've had. And so just be real with people if you can or can't do that. Does that help answer the question at all? Is it
No, yeah, it does. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
is it a punch in the gut to hear, or do you have like differing opinion?
No, I mean, I think what you said is sound. That's one of the things that we're trying to do here at Blue Fire Leads is how do we sell, the vision of, hey, this is what we do, this is what we offer, this is what we don't offer. But if you come here, we've got a small team, you're going to learn and grow a ton. Like you said, you might not have a fancy title, you might not be making gobs of money, but you are going to be rewarded in different ways. And we're trying to find those people that's attracted to them.
So Bryce, on that recruiting front and that storytelling, one of the things that we do is we first create, we call it a scorecard, but internally we call it the Guide to the Galaxy, right? Because superheroes. So
Right.
we have this Guide to the Galaxy, and we, instead of writing a job description, we say, what's the mission of the role? Like in layman's terms, 1 to 2 sentences, what are they trying to do? What are the outcomes of the job? So in a year, or whatever time frame, here's what you should do. If it's a sales role, you should generate $1 million in net new ARR. And then what are the values that most align with this role to allow you to succeed? So we build this Guide to the Galaxy, and then we have each hiring manager sit down, and you can just do it in front of your cell phone, right? Hit record and say, in 2 minutes, tell me about the scorecard. And that's the call to adventure. We then post that video online and we say, hey, candidates, here's the call to adventure. Here's what the mission is. Here's what the outcomes are. Here's what values align. Here's the good, the bad, the ugly of the role. And if they like it, then we bring them in. We do a cultural tour. So we're in office and we'll take them around. We'll show them the culture, let them opt in or opt out of it. And then they get to meet their mentor, which could be the hiring manager. And we vet out their skills. And all along the way, we're reiterating what we can and cannot offer. And they get to experience that firsthand. And we've noticed as we can create FOMO, as people say, I have to be part of this company, it realigns expectations. So they're not always asking for money or always asking for whatever it might be, right? We're just super transparent on how that is, and we let them experience it. So I don't know. As another PX guy, my mind goes to talent acquisition and how that process is set up to walk the candidates through the journey so they can get there on their own as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, who else has a question? Eric. Oh.
If my Zap pad was working, no. Unmute. Jared, I found this wonderful situation we've been in with COVID and trying to maintain culture in a remotely versus having the team right in the office where you can pump up and listen in and be on touch of the pulse of what's going on, has been a challenge. What have you done to maintain culture in a remote with a remote workforce?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is effective communication and awareness, right? People wanted to know what's going on and be able to do that with each other. My favorite tool for this is a product called Motivosity. It does a couple of things. And my favorite is it facilitates really meaningful one-on-ones between managers and their direct reports. So on a weekly or biweekly basis, every single one of our leaders is talking with everyone on their team. And it's a common agenda that people are able to build together that allows them to say, here's what's on my mind. Here are my roadblocks. Here are my rocks. Here are my obstacles. Help me get around that, which brings just a lot of awareness to both sides of the leader and the team member. Without a doubt, we see the lens of our company through the lens of our mentor, right? Luke would not have wanted to be a Jedi if he didn't look up to Obi-Wan. And if Obi-Wan was a turd, he would have turned Luke in to become a Sith, right? And be on the dark side. So it's so important that mentor-mentee relationship is very, very strong. And Motivosity helps with that. The other thing that it helps with is peer-to-peer recognition. So imagine Facebook for your company where you're just seeing positivity that's happening. Hey, thanks for your help on this project. Hey, thanks for doing this, after hours. Hey, thanks for helping level me up by having this conversation. And when people are actively reading that, it connects us together. It unites those for us that are in office and those that are out of office. And it helps us stay unified in looking for the good in others, because when you're not together and then you just hear stuff, normally the water cooler talk can be negative, but when you put a positive light on that, it mentally helps us get in a better spot where we say, yeah, I do feel connected with the good things that are happening. And there is a lot of positivity and it's infectious. I'm thinking about someone on our executive team, and we'll be in meetings, and I've noticed that the slightest thing that he does changes my attitude. We'll be sitting there and someone will be saying something and he'll just start nodding his head like, yep. Yeah. And it's like really big. It's like big head nods. And as soon as he does, I immediately see myself like re-engaging, like, oh yeah, that is a good point. And like, yeah, I do like that. And so something as simple as nodding your head or as saying, thanks for your help with this project, it sucks us in and it unites us. So that's been a really good tool that's worked for us at JobNimbus.
Okay, thank you. And what was the name of that software, the Motive Aussie?
Motive, MOTIVOSITY. Okay.
Motivosity. Okay.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay. Any last questions here? Okay, go ahead, Tara.
Hi, my apologies. My video quit working right before this call. I would like to kind of piggyback off of what Eric said and ask the question in a different way about how to connect remotely to partners, prospective clients. I love LinkedIn, and I have many good friends, partners, clients there. And I want to express authenticity there and my genuine concern for what they're working on and how to help. But virtually it's tough. And also there's so many just flat like sales emails going out there. Like I want to stand out in the way of being authentic and caring when I reach out to people. So if you could kind of talk about the virtual space in regards to connecting with those types of groups, not just employees, that would be.
I'll try to get super takeaway-ish here and some things you can apply immediately. Okay. One, in your online presence, you first have to be authentic, right? Instead of posting the picture of the family in front of the canyon, post the picture of, your spouse helping the kids go pee on the side of the road.
Got it.
And be like, gosh, sure had a great trip, right? Like that just humanizes us. So that's one. The other is post regularly. Like I try to do a post online every single day. Okay. And it's a different topic. Typically what I do is whenever I have a meeting and somebody says something, I just write it down. I have a little notepad and list, and I just like, ooh, that's great. And I write it down and that becomes a post for me. So post regularly. And I mainly do LinkedIn. So I'm going to go heavy on LinkedIn for a sec. On the mobile app for LinkedIn is, you go to messages and then you can actually send a voice memo, and voice memo it's a minute long and you have to stop it and then you send your next one. But almost every time I send a voice memo, people are like, I had no idea you could do this. This is really cool. But it catches your inflection, it catches your tone, it captures your excitement. And it's a very authentic way to reach out to people. And in fact, I've done that with job seekers. Like if I'm looking for someone, I'm like, wow, they look really cool. I'll send them a voice memo and just be like, hey, your profile is like sick. Do you want to talk sometime? Because I'm really interested in getting to know you. So the voice memos is a great tool. They also have a video option inside messaging there where you just hold it and it just records you like a video, and then you can send the video out. Another tool that I would recommend is called Vidyard. Vidyard is Eric likes it. Vidyard is really good because it's a Google Chrome extension, and you just click it and it can share your screen or it can just do your video. And so I use this like with customers, for example. Whenever somebody's like, hey, how do I do this? I just pull open the software and I open Vidyard and I hit record, and it records my screen, and I just walk them through it like, oh, this is exactly what you do. And when somebody needs complex information, that's the way that I do it. Or if I need to deliver something that's kind of difficult news or something, I'll share my screen so they can just kind of see my engagement and everything else. So that's an option. Another thing that is really easy to do, and you just have to do it once, and it's uncomfortable, make a minute video of yourself doing something weird. So I had this idea, and we had our whole team do it, of what's a unique talent that you have. And I taught myself how to do nunchucks when I was in high school. So I'm super not good at it. And I went in this open parking lot with no cars. And for a minute straight, I just nunchucked, right? And then I overlaid some text that says like, hey, I'm Jared, you know, I'm not very good at nunchucking, but I am good at like human experience and people experience. Love to talk to you sometime. And it gets a chuckle out of people. It looks different, and it makes people say like, oh, I'm definitely interested. Video is such a great tool. That's part of why our call to adventure for our candidates at JobNimbus is a video of the hiring manager talking about the role, because everyone's bored of reading a job description, and job descriptions suck, time, talent, and energy. So video is a great tool on how you could do that. So those are, hopefully those are a couple of ways you can stand out.
Yes, Jared, thank you, because I truly authentically care about the people in my life, and I want them to see that, and it's becoming harder to do virtually. And you learned how to do it with coworkers and employees. So thank you for that. You got big head nods. I apologize that my video because again, as you talked about the importance of video, it's evident in this call that would have been helpful to have. So thank you very much.
No, you're fine. Tara, I would also just say go on LinkedIn and follow people of Silicon Slopes, because I am always interviewing people and sharing stories about them. That doesn't work for everyone, but for your customers, put them in the spotlight. For your prospects, put them in the spotlight. Hey, I just got off this demo with this awesome prospect. You got to look at their business. They're doing really cool stuff. It's not about you, it's about them. And that's kind of what the goal of people of Silicon Slopes is highlighting others that are doing amazing things. That's
fantastic. I'm looking at your link and some of your past posts right now.
Awesome.
Right top of mind. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all the time we have for Q&A today. I think that was an awesome set of questions and a lot of really good information we can all take away and use today. So thank you, Jared, for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. If you guys would like to hear more insightful tips, each month we'll be joined by industry experts to share their insight on the future of work. And our next session is going to be September 24th. The host will be Jonathan Bannister of Make Happy. And if you're watching this session on YouTube, the transcription, all the other important information is going to be in the description box below. And until we see you again, have a wonderful month. Thanks.